Not every hero begins with a birth. Some begin with a target on their back, before they've even opened their eyes. This is the story of the strongest man who ever lived, and the queen of the gods who tried, again and again, to destroy him. Ollie the owl has been waiting for this one. Out of every story she knows, this might be her favorite. 12 trials. 6 impossible monsters. One king too afraid to even look him in the eye. This is the story of Hercules. This is the true story of the 12 labors of Hercules. It started, as so many of these stories do, with Zeus falling in love with a mortal woman. Her name was Alcmene, and the son she carried would be unlike any child born before him. But on Mount Olympus, Hera was watching. And Hera was furious. She had spent centuries forgiving her husband's wandering eye. This time, she decided, the child would pay for it. The baby was named Hercules. And on his very first night in the world, Hera sent proof of exactly how far she was willing to go. 2 serpents slid into his cradle while he slept. His nursemaid screamed. But when they reached the crib, they found the baby boy laughing, one snake gripped tightly in each fist, already still. He was not yet a day old. Hera couldn't kill him outright. So instead, she decided to make his entire life a trial. She twisted fate so that a distant, lesser cousin, a nervous king named Eurystheus, was born just moments before Hercules. By the strange rules of the gods, that made Eurystheus the master, and Hercules his servant, bound to obey his every command. If Hercules wanted to earn his freedom, and his place among the gods, he would have to complete whatever tasks the king demanded. Eurystheus, terrified of the very hero he now controlled, decided to give him labors that were never meant to be survived. 10 labors, he announced. 10 impossible tasks. He assumed it would take, at most, 1. He had absolutely no idea what he had just started. The first task was simple to explain, and nearly impossible to survive: kill the Nemean Lion. Its golden hide could not be pierced by any blade, any arrow, any spear ever forged. So Hercules did the only thing left to do. He dropped his weapons, walked into the lion's own cave, and fought it with his bare hands. It was over in silence, in the dark, without a single witness. When Hercules walked back out, the lion did not. He skinned the beast with its own claws, the only blade sharp enough for the job, and wore its golden hide from that day forward. When he dragged the lion's body back to the palace, Eurystheus took one look, and did not open the gate. From then on, the king had a large bronze jar built, just so he'd have somewhere to hide every time Hercules came home. The second labor waited in a swamp: the Hydra, a serpent with 9 venomous heads. Hercules quickly learned its cruelest trick. Cut off one head, and 2 more grew back in its place. He was losing, fast, until his nephew Iolaus had an idea. The moment Hercules struck a head down, Iolaus seared the wound shut with fire, before a new one could ever grow. Neck by neck, the 2 of them worked their way through all 9 heads, until the Hydra finally stopped moving. Before he left, Hercules dipped his arrows in the Hydra's poisonous blood, a decision that would matter again, much later in his story. 2 labors down. Eurystheus, watching from a very safe distance, was already regretting this plan. Not every labor was about killing. Some were about patience. The Ceremonian hind was sacred to the goddess Artemis, faster than any arrow, and Hercules was ordered to capture it alive, without harming a single hair. He chased it for an entire year, across rivers and mountains, until the hind finally tired, and let itself be caught. Next came the Erymanthian boar, a monstrous wild pig terrorizing a mountainside village. Hercules didn't fight it head-on. He simply chased it into deep snow, where its short legs sank uselessly, and it could barely move at all. He carried the boar back on his own shoulders. Eurystheus, predictably, was already back in his jar. The fifth labor wasn't a monster at all. It was worse, 30 years of filth. King Augean owned 3,000 cattle, and had not cleaned their stables even once in 3 decades. Hercules was ordered to clean it all in a single day. Brute strength wouldn't solve this one. So Hercules thought like an engineer instead of a warrior. He tore open the walls of the stable, and rerouted 2 entire rivers straight through it. The flood did in a single afternoon what 30 years of shovels never could. It was proof of something Eurystheus kept forgetting: Hercules wasn't just strong. He was clever. The labors kept coming, and so did the monsters. Man-eating birds with feathers sharp as knives had taken over a lake, blotting out the sun each time they took flight. A gift from the goddess Athena, a pair of bronze rattles, startled the whole flock into the air at once, where Hercules could finally drive them off for good. Next, the Cretan bull, a monstrous white bull breathing fire, laying waste to the island of Crete. Hercules wrestled it to the ground with his bare hands, and carried it, alive and furious, all the way back to the king. Then came the mares of Diomedes, 4 wild horses so vicious that no stable could hold them. Hercules tamed them within a single day. 6 labors in, and Eurystheus was starting to realize this hero could not be stopped, only redirected. For the 11th labor, Eurystheus reached for something he was certain no mortal could ever retrieve: the golden apples of the Hesperides. They grew in a hidden garden at the very edge of the world, guarded by nymphs, and coiled around the tree, a fearsome dragon named Ladon. Hercules realized he needed help from someone who knew exactly where that garden was, the Titan Atlas, who held up the sky at the very edge of that same world. Hercules made him an offer. He would hold the heavens on his own shoulders, just for a while, if Atlas would fetch the apples himself. Atlas agreed, and for the first time in longer than anyone could remember, he felt the impossible weight of the sky finally lift from his shoulders. When Atlas returned with the apples, he suddenly liked the idea of never taking that weight back at all. So Hercules, straining under the entire sky, calmly asked for one small favor: could Atlas hold it again, just for a moment, while he adjusted his cloak? Atlas agreed. Hercules simply picked up the apples and walked away. 1 labor remained, and Eurystheus saved the worst for last: bring back Cerberus, the 3-headed hound who guarded the gates of the Underworld. It meant Hercules had to walk, alive, into the realm of the dead. There, on a shadowed throne, sat Hades himself, the very god whose freedom Zeus had once fought a war to win. Hercules asked for permission to borrow the hound, and offered to return him unharmed. Impressed by the request, Hades agreed, on one condition: no weapons. So Hercules wrestled Cerberus with nothing but his bare hands, and the same lion's hide he'd worn since his very first labor. It took every ounce of strength he had. But eventually, all three heads went still, and Cerberus allowed himself to be led away. When Hercules dragged the hound of the underworld into the throne room, Eurystheus didn't even make it to his jar in time. 12 labors. 6 years of monsters, tricks, and impossible odds. And Hercules had survived every single one. Hera never did manage to destroy him. If anything, every trial she set in his path only proved exactly what kind of hero he truly was. When his service to Eurystheus finally ended, the gods did something Hera never expected: they welcomed Hercules to Mount Olympus itself. The son of a mortal woman, hated by a goddess since before he could walk, became a god in his own right. Ollie always says the measure of a hero isn't how many times he's knocked down. It's how many times he gets back up. And by that measure, Hercules may be the greatest hero these mountains have ever produced. But Ollie promises he isn't the only one. Somewhere out there, a hero is about to look into a mirror-polished shield, and come face to face with a monster whose gaze turns men to stone. Thank you so much for watching this second tale in our Greek mythology series. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering, and we'll see you back on Mount Olympus very soon.